By day, I'm just another corporate drone, ground under the heel of my bombshell boss. By night, I transform into a fiction author, unleashing my wildest fantasies on a niche platform online. And then, one day, I finally snapped and accidentally sent my latest piece of smut to my boss as a project proposal. Ava Reed stared at the document on her screen, her eyes that could sell $1 million contract, wide with disbelief. The title practically screamed at her. The day I quit, I slept with the CEO. Any trace of sleepiness vanished instantly. I give you an inch, and you try to take my whole damn life. 8:00 a.m. I slipped into Ava's office, same as every other morning. Arriving early and leaving late to create the perfect work environment for the boss is just part of the assistant's code. 3 years ago, she'd picked me out of a sea of applicants. Well, she'd said, a smirk playing on her lips. Aren't you that underclassman who set up that ridiculous heart-shaped candle display and got brutally rejected? Come on, stick with me. I'll make sure you eat like a king. For every bowl of soup I have, you'll have a bowl to wash. And the result? I had an endless supply of bowls to wash. Taking care of the boss's personal life is, after all, part of the assistant's code. I pushed open her office door and froze. The sun must have risen in the west. For the first time in memory, Ava was in the office before me. She wore a smile with enough seductive charm to topple empires, like a water lily that had just soaked up a lifetime of sunlight. Morning, Alex. I took a step back. A blaring, code red alarm went off in my head. The firm was currently bidding on a massive design project for an amusement park, and the entire company was in a state of perpetual overtime. Ava had been riding everyone, her temper so foul that even a stray dog would get an earful. And now, this early in the morning, she was smiling at me. It felt like watching a small boat sailing cheerfully toward a giant iceberg, seconds from shattering. The old masters taught us, never trust a woman, especially not a beautiful woman. And I would add one more rule, especially not a beautiful woman who's giving you a sweet, dazzling smile. Behind that smile are probably razor-sharp fangs. I didn't understand that principle back then, and I blindly signed a 5-year ironclad contract. No vacations, no sick days, and absolutely no girlfriends. Her excuse? Relationships only slow a man's trigger finger, right? I read the report you sent last night, she said. Your writing is quite impressive. All thanks to your excellent guidance, I replied, my survival instinct screaming at me. Calling her Ms. Reed right now would surely summon a storm of biblical proportions. Her eyes held a strange glint. You've been doing great work lately. I think it's time to give you more responsibility. This wasn't right. She was actually complimenting me. This was the same woman who, just yesterday, had called my work a gilded turd. So, the report I wrote, it's approved. We can give it a try. So, I should proceed based on its contents. MHM. Then I'll go print the proposal documents. I bolted out of the room, leaving Ava behind as her expression grew darker and darker. For 3 years, the company had been barely treading water, and our salaries hovered precariously around the poverty line. Out of desperation, I had dusted off the writing skills I'd honed in college. Last night, after finishing the real proposal, I had dived back into my erotic fiction to earn some side cash. What can I say? Nobody reads serious literature anymore. The printer whirred and groaned, spitting out a thick stack of paper. Wait a minute. The actual proposal was only about 10 pages long. I whipped out my phone. It was over. 100,000 words of pure, unadulterated smut were sitting in Ava's inbox. A brief introduction to my boss. She's a Virgo, a perfectionist, and a stunning combination of ice-cold elegance and sharp intellect. But you have to get close to see the real her, a sharp-tongued, morally bankrupt, insufferable taskmaster. When I first started, a goddess with perfect skin, killer legs, a sight for sore eyes, and a balm for the soul. 6 months later, I want to run, but there's no escape. The first time I accompanied her to a client meeting, we met with a pot-bellied, middle-aged suit who immediately tried to put me in my place. Kids these days have no manners. Don't you know you're supposed to greet your benefactor? I shrank back, not daring to say a word. Ava shot me a glance and spoke in a cool, level tone. My assistant knows how to talk to people. He just hasn't been trained to communicate with pigs. Back at the office, she immediately turned on me. You're usually so talkative. What happened? You lose your nerve. I was scared. Scared of what? Even a dog has its owner to back it up. So I was a dog in her eyes. She glanced at me again. You're better than a dog. At least you can wash dishes. So still a dog. Naturally, the deal fell through. The greasy clients started spreading rumors about our firm all over town. In a rage, Ava created a burner account on X and launched a full-scale digital assault. She tore him apart from his appearance to his character, dragging his ancestors into it for good measure. She went after him personally, then his company, then the entire industry. For 2 solid hours, she didn't use a single curse word, but every sentence was loaded with enough innuendo to make a sailor blush. She was finally suspended by the platform, with the official reason being that her comment section had become too pornographic. Ava proudly earned the title of industry troll and was nearly blacklisted by everyone. A simple online meltdown I could understand. But the next day, she dragged me to the guy's office. While she delivered a passionate, eloquent tirade that left everyone stunned, my job was to sneakily replace the lucky money statue on their reception desk and water their 2 money trees with boiling water. In her words, when you're dealing with a scumbag like that, breaking a few rules is nothing. We're practically saints for being this lawful. This was my unhinged boss. And what was even more insane was that I, of all people, had dared to send her my erotic fanfiction. It was like a dung beetle trying to light a lantern, looking for shit. I raced back to the CEO's office, hoping there was still a chance to fix this. As I approached, I could hear her on the phone through the heavy wooden door. Push me again, I dare you. I'll go find some old geezer to marry, and then we can spend our golden years together complaining about our arthritis. What's wrong with an old guy? They're low maintenance and have great health insurance. And if he kicks the bucket, I can just find another one. Based on past experience, her family was nagging her about marriage again. Only this time, Ava was particularly agitated, spewing the most outrageous things. Most women have a few bad days a month. As a stone-cold female CEO, Ava seemed to have about 30 of them. During times like these, the best strategy was to stay far away and preserve my own life. However, Alex, get your ass in here now. Of course, a rabid dog has sharp ears. I was walking so quietly, but she still heard me. Her temper flared like a guard dog protecting its food. Can you at least try to act like a man? The way you were just creeping around, peeking through the door. You looked exactly like my golden retriever the other day after he ate something foul in the yard and was too scared to come inside. I silently opened the secret passage between my left ear and my right, letting her hurricane of words blow straight through. Let her rant. A gentle breeze on a mountainside. The red star of revolution fills my chest. I remain unshaken. It wasn't that I was a total coward. It's just that Ava had once confessed that she learned her unhinged behavior from me. I weakly raised a hand in protest. Her gaze was a mixture of 3 parts amusement, 3 parts resentment, and 4 parts pure schadenfreude. Remember back in college, after your grand romantic gesture failed? How did you get through that period? I frowned, thinking back. There was a time when I raged against the world, the heavens, the very air I breathe. My mood was perpetually foul, and I went out of my way to antagonize anyone who came near me. Ava, the high and mighty student council president at the time, had naively tried to counsel this depressed youth. After several rounds of verbal sparring, I had successfully managed to make her cry. But my madness, it wasn't my true self. Once that whole mess was over, I had intended to apologize to her properly. But by then, she had already received an offer from a prestigious overseas university and left to study abroad. Weighed down by the pressures of school and life, I had forgotten all about our beautiful and absurd misunderstanding. It wasn't until 6 months into my job here that a possible explanation dawned on me. In an era where master's degrees are a dime a dozen and bachelor's degrees are everywhere, how could someone like me, no connections, not a graduate from a top-tier school, and not even a recent grad, so easily land a job? And not just any job, but a high-level position like assistant to the CEO? Could she be getting her revenge on me? The answer was painfully obvious. For 3 whole years, I'd lived a life worse than a dog's. The front desk called. The new CEO of the Lakeside Development Group was here for a visit. Ava finally ceased her verbal assault. She snatched the proposal from my hands and shot me a final command. I'll deal with you when I get back. In that moment, I witnessed just how quickly a woman's expression could change. The Lakeside Development Group was the primary investor for the Lakeside Point Amusement Park. In our terms, the client with the deep pockets. The new CEO's last name was Thompson. He had previously worked out of state and had only been in his new position for 10 days. Somehow, Ava had managed to connect with him and had completely shed her Ice Queen persona. Lately, they had been inseparable. By the time I returned to my desk, tidied up a bit, and came back, the snarling mastiff had transformed into a gentle lamb. I scurried forward to help with her bag, another basic duty of an assistant. She let out a cold snort. I don't need you to come with me. Stay here and think about what you've done. And so I watched as the two of them walked out of the building, arm in arm, shoulders touching, whispering to each other. I let out a deep sigh. Society is a cruel, cruel blade. Another beauty falls for a sugar daddy. To save the company, even Ava, a woman with a terminal case of main character syndrome, was finally learning to bend. I slumped back at my desk, lamenting the cruelties of the world and feeling a pang of sorrow for my boss's fall from grace. Then, I pulled up my smutty novel, polished it up, and sent the revised file to my editor at the platform. The last story I wrote earned me a cool $3,000. This one was even more explosive, more visceral, more daring. This new piece was based on my own real-life experiences, a masterpiece of emotional tension and subtle desire. I was sure it would break $10,000 in earnings. A few more books like this, and a six-figure income wouldn't be a dream. Then I could finally look my tyrant boss in the eye and tell her off. My monthly salary is $4,500, and you expect me to smile all day? In your dreams. A notification popped up in the company Slack channel. Someone left their erotica printing in the copy room. The printer is literally smoking. Oh crap. In my haste, I forgot to cancel the print job. I sprinted down the hall. The small copy room was already packed with people. Whose masterpiece is this? The setting sounds suspiciously like our office. Hey, you're right. And the female lead getting playfully disciplined. Sounds a lot like our dear Miss. Interesting. The boss just lands the big fish from the city, Mr. Thompson. And suddenly this fantasy piece appears. Sounds like a classic case of unrequited love. I knew all too well how these office gossips operated. If I let them keep analyzing, there was no telling what kind of crazy theories they'd come up with. I decisively stepped forward, using my authority as the CEO's assistant to take charge of the investigation. Printing smut at work was a minor infraction, but when it involved the big boss, it was a major incident, especially at a critical time like this. And it was all my fault for describing the office environment in such meticulous, realistic detail for the sake of authentic fantasy. I called a good friend for advice. He was silent for a moment, then spoke in a low voice. Just quit, man. It's the cleanest way out for everyone. Trust me, talent like yours will shine anywhere. Some friend. I wished 3 generations of poverty upon him. Ava didn't get back to the office until 3:00 p.m. The meeting must have gone well. Her cheeks were flushed, and it was clear she'd been drinking. She shot me a sideways glance, her eyes full of challenge. About that little story. Care to explain yourself? I pulled out the resignation letter I had already printed. The jig was up. Time to drop the act. Sure, I collected a paycheck that felt like hush money every month, but I wasn't actually a pushover. My writing was now bringing in a few thousand a month. I could afford to go to Popeye's without having to wait for a Tuesday special. Her face instantly darkened. She glared at me, her jaw tight, and squeezed a single word through her teeth. Ow! A man has his pride. I wasn't going to just scurry away. While my colleagues were still whispering about the fanfiction scandal, I made a smooth and dignified exit. I showed up at my friend's apartment. He looked shocked. So you got kicked to the curb. I tossed my duffel bag on his floor, feeling a surge of bravado. This time, I'm the one who fired my boss. He nodded sagely. You've been saying that for 3 years. I was a man of peace, but you forced my hand. We were going to have words. Or rather, fists. Men don't need a lot of words. Everything can be said with alcohol. We ordered a couple of pizzas, cracked open a bottle of whiskey, and worked our way through 2 cases of beer from afternoon until the early hours of the morning. A familiar ringtone shattered the silence. I pried my eyes open. My friend was slumped over the table, snoring like a freight train. I let out a boozy sigh. You amateur. You really thought you could outdrink me. On the screen, 3 words flashed relentlessly. The tyrant. I'd already quit, and she still wanted to squeeze more value out of me. Not a chance. My finger slipped, and I accidentally answered the call. Her voice was sharp and demanding. I'm at the Grand Lux Hotel. I've been drinking. Come pick me up. I cleared my throat and replied with as much professional dignity as I could muster. I have voluntarily resigned. Our employment contract has been terminated. There was a pause on the other end. Then her voice grew even louder. Who approved it? Who signed off on it? You. I hung up immediately. A woman is a tiger. An unhinged woman is an unreasonable tigress. An unhinged, drunk woman is a creature you run from, not toward. My screen lit up with a barrage of text that had started coming in at 6. Get back here and work. Now, if you don't show up, you'll be marked as absent without leave. So I yelled at you. Fine, I'm sorry, okay? Don't be so petty. I'm petty. I thought about the 3 years of late nights and business trips I'd endured for her. I had been by her side for everything short of sharing her bed. And what did I get for it in the end? A single word. Ow. My heart ached. Ding. Another message. Alex, if you don't get your ass over here right now, I swear I'll do something you'll regret. The beautiful illusion shattered. An unhinged woman is always an unhinged woman. I tossed my phone aside and collapsed back onto the couch, but her last words echoed in my mind. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding hangover. I opened my eyes to see a pair of beautiful, large ones staring back at me. The tyrant. What was she doing in my bed? This had to be a nightmare. I'd quit, and I was still having nightmares about my ex-boss. I rolled over, trying to find a better dream. Her voice, raspy from the alcohol, broke the silence. You're awake. Not yet. I mumbled, playing dead while my brain scrambled to piece together last night. She was drunk, I was drunk. The two of us had stumbled home together, and then a pillow hit me squarely in the head. Stop pretending you're asleep. I shot upright and stared at Ava, her clothes disheveled. I had slept with the tyrant. I let out a nervous laugh. Ms. Reed, I had a bit too much to drink last night. I don't remember a thing. Playing the amnesia card. A cold smirk played on her lips, one that said she saw right through me. I'm sorry, Ms. Reed. Just tell me my punishment. Sleeping with your boss was one thing. At worst, you're a predator, and you get sent somewhere with free room and bored to think about what you've done. But what I did was worse than that. I had hit her. Specifically, I had spanked her. Hard. And all the while, I was lecturing her about her life choices. You're a young woman. You can't throw your life away like this. Mr. Thompson is old enough to be your father. How could you? The moment the memory returned, I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. I couldn't face the world, but it seemed the one who really couldn't face the world was someone else. Ava snatched her jacket from the floor and threw it at me. Who's going to pay your health insurance this month? Who's going to pay your rent next month? You quit just like that? Have you achieved financial independence? Of course my finances are independent. They're so independent, they never stay in my bank account for long. It's 8:30 in the morning. Aren't you going to get your ass to work? Sigh. Another day, another dollar. Another day as a corporate drone. Back at the office, I decided to embrace my inner slacker. First order of business, get paid to poop. Then, get paid to drink water. Then, get paid to charge my phone. My new motto, love my country, love my job, just don't love working. I'd be randomly unhinged and situationally friendly. Getting fired was better than quitting. At least then you get a severance package. Ava called a meeting with all the department heads for her routine monthly scolding. Profits are down another 20% this month. Can anyone explain why? I was hiding behind the others when I let out a long, theatrical sigh. Ava's eyebrow shot up. Alex, you have something to say. I sank deeper into the couch, feigning exhaustion. When performance is down, shouldn't we first look at the decision makers? A train runs fast because of its engine. If the company isn't doing well, it's either because the leadership is clueless or the employees aren't paid enough. The other managers stared at me, their eyes a mixture of shock, sympathy, and encouragement. Ava's long, narrow eyes blinked once, then twice. A fine point, Alex. For a company to succeed, its employees must be well-fed. Therefore, we, the decision-makers, must lead by example. We must work diligently and contribute to the company's growth. I hereby announce that if we successfully land the Lakeside Point Amusement Park project, this year's annual bonuses will be doubled. The room erupted in applause. Only I was left standing there, completely bewildered. 5:29:59 p.m. I was the first one to the time clock. Every extra second I stayed was an insult to my paycheck. Just then, Ava appeared beside me like a ghost. You've been quite bold today, Alex. Skill breeds confidence. I just tell it like it is. All thanks to your training, boss. Ava frowned, looking me up and down. Maybe you should be the boss. I could be your secretary. I wouldn't dare. I recited smoothly. An assistant's primary duty is to be loyal to the boss and help cover their weaknesses. She scoffed. Oh, so you do remember you're my assistant. Good. You're coming with me to a gala tonight. Beep. Clock out successful. I pulled my finger away and shook my head with theatrical regret. Ava lifted her chin slightly, her tone dismissive. Tonight's gala is the launch party for the Lakeside Point project. I hear there will be a lot of anime cosplayers. Are you sure you want to miss it? Images of long, slender legs and black stockings danced in my head. I shook my head, pained. I'm a man of principle. She snorted. I was even planning on buying you a custom-tailored suit to make a good impression. I guess I'll just save the money. Ava's family background was a mystery. She had started the company with her own savings and a mountain of loans. I had often grumbled to myself that she had all the expensive tastes of a princess without the royal bank account. Her clothes were always high-end, never costing less than a few $1,000s. A suit she would approve of. And buy for me. This was a test for a saint. Not for me. I straightened my back. What time do we leave? I thought you were off the clock. I love overtime. Overtime makes the boss happy. When the boss is happy, everyone is happy. The suit was $800. At first glance, its tailored cut and champagne color made it look like a perfect couple's outfit with the beige dress Ava was wearing. Nice, the price seemed about right. The saleswoman smiled professionally. Sir, you missed a zero. What? $88,000. That was more than my entire year's salary, bonus included. Ava, completely unfazed, pulled out a black credit card. Pay for it. My hand trembled as I took the card. This is too expensive. Are you sure you're not going to deduct this from my salary? Ava snorted. That depends on your performance tonight. Of course. The world wasn't full of free lunches. You reap what you sow. The gala was packed. Handsome men and beautiful women brushed shoulders, a sea of glittering fabric and clinking glasses. I hovered carefully behind Ava, tried to avoid any contact with anyone, terrified of getting a single speck of dust on this priceless suit. A generous return policy was a beautiful thing. As long as I didn't rip off the tag, $88,000 would be back in her account tomorrow. Ava, over here. Across the room, Mr. Thompson was waving at us. His round, puffy face was adorned with a pair of reading glasses, and the receding hairline of his Mediterranean scalp gave way to deep wrinkles. He looked like a cunning old fox, an old man chasing a young woman. Wasn't he afraid of breaking his rotten teeth? Richard, you're here early, Ava said, beaming as she walked over to him. Richard? They were on a first-name basis now. I squeezed the cuff of my sleeve. For $88,000, I would just have to smile and bear it. My mission tonight, as assigned by Ava, was to win over Mr. Thompson and convince him to approve our design proposal. A multi-million-dollar project couldn't be won with pillow talk alone. Real skill and a solid plan were the foundation of success. Ava nestled happily against Mr. Thompson's side. Richard, this is my assistant, Alex Turner. He'll be handling the project logistics from now on. The old fox extended a hand. Ava's told me about you. A fine young man. Keep up the good work. Ava chimed in from the side. Alex, this is my father. If you run into any difficulties during the project, you can always ask him for help. This guy had some nerve. He could handle any difficulty? If I drew a picture of a chicken pecking at rice, would he put down $1 million deposit? I grumbled internally, then bowed my head respectfully. A pleasure to meet you, sir. Our patron saint. Suddenly, something fell off. It was one thing for Ava to call him daddy as part of their dynamic, but what was I getting involved for? The old fox, no, Mr. Thompson, paused for a second, then smiled and explained. Ava took her mother's last name. My brain went into overdrive for a solid 10 seconds before the meaning of his words clicked. I looked up in shock. Behind the black-framed glasses, his wealthy face was filled with paternal kindness. The wrinkles on his forehead now seemed to be etched with authority. Even his balding head seemed to radiate intelligence. And now that I looked closer, their eyes and brows did share a striking resemblance. A massive weight lifted from my chest. With this connection, the suit on my back would turn into a stack of crisp bills in my pocket tomorrow. I glanced up and caught the faintest hint of a cold, meaningful smile on Ava's lips. Thinking back to my drunken rant last night, I felt like a bolt of lightning should strike me down. I guess writing too much smut really does corrupt the soul. As if to dispel my last shred of doubt, a couple walked over to greet them. Uncle Richard, Ava, there you are. I've been looking all over for you. Ava leaned in and whispered in my ear. Your first love is back. Surprised? Shocked. The young woman approaching was dressed in a simple white dress. She was tall and slender, her face holding a polite but reserved smile, like a delicate white flower in a pond. It was the campus beauty I had chased relentlessly all through college. Sarah Thompson. She saw me too, a flicker of happiness in her eyes, but the man beside her quickly put a hand on her arm, holding her back. It was just like 5 years ago when I had arranged 99 candles in the shape of a heart to confess my love to her, only to have this same man step in and block my path. Blake Harrison, the city's most notorious rich kid, heir to the Harrison Group. He was the poster child for spoiled brats, having once famously declared, "There's nothing in this world I can't have, only things I don't want." He looked me up and down. Well, if it isn't Alex Turner, how did you manage to sneak in here? I was speechless. Same old lines after all these years. The same way you did. He circled me twice, then suddenly snatched the price tag hanging from my sleeve. Well, a brand new suit just for the party. Huh? Planning on returning it tomorrow? Damn it. My $88,000. Blake continued to mock me. You know why department stores lose money? Because of broke losers like you who abuse the return policy. That son of a bitch. Something inside me snapped. I shot back without hesitation. Life got you bored? Is that why you're a monkey critiquing humans? Blake's face contorted with rage. Forgetting where he was, he lunged at me. Sarah immediately stepped between us. Blake, don't be so impulsive. Getting into a fight will ruin your image. Blake reined in his anger, pulling Sarah into a tight, possessive hug. He looked at me with a triumphant smirk. We're getting married. Jealous. Sarah and I had grown up in the same neighborhood. We were practically childhood sweethearts. From elementary school all the way through college, it was as if fate had tied us together, placing us in the same schools time and time again. The neighborhood ladies all said we were a match made in heaven, destined to be together. Our parents knew each other well and were happy to see it happen. I thought so too. A life with her by my side seemed pretty good. So I had always made a habit of protecting her, of standing in front of her. Until freshman year, just before winter break, when she came to me with red-rimmed eyes. I don't want to be poor anymore. I'd rather cry in a BMW than smile on the back of your bicycle. I said nothing. Stop following me around. I want to be free. So I gave her freedom. She was free, and she spent the entire vacation traveling with her roommates. When school started again, she told me she had fallen for an upperclassman, a rich kid whose family could help her climb the social ladder. Does he like you back? I asked. She pulled out a notebook titled The Player's Playbook. I have a plan, but I need your help. I helped her. She successfully caught Blake Harrison's attention and, after graduation, got a job at his family's company. Now, they were about to get married. Her plan, it seemed, had worked. I looked at Sarah, my eyes holding nothing but well wishes. We had gone our separate ways. It was best to let things be. Suddenly, a sharp pinch hit my waist. Ava's voice was in my ear. What makes you think that the piece of trash my Alex threw away would taste so delicious to you? Spoken like a true, unhinged queen. With one sentence, she had offended 3 out of the 4 people standing there. Blake was stunned. Ava, are you seriously scolding me for this loser? The unhinged queen replied, in this world, money is hard to earn, and shit is hard to eat. If you piss me off, I'll make your life a living hell. Sarah asked quietly, you're Alex? You too are. The unhinged queen puffed out her chest. This one could be a bit of a dog, and I happen to like dogs. Sarah blinked, a knowing look in her eyes. That explains a lot. The unhinged queen stroked my hair dismissively. You've got 2 eyes in your head, but all you can do is blink. You can't see a damn thing. Blake sneered. So he's just a lapdog. No matter how much he barks, he'll never have a life as good as my princess, Sarah. The unhinged queen fired back instantly. Princess? From which back alley strip club? Maybe I'll send my Alex over tomorrow to make it rain. Noticing the growing crowd of onlookers, Mr. Thompson cut his daughter off. That's enough. Enough? If you hadn't been so weak back then, would you have been forced to spend 5 years out of state? Mr. Thompson immediately deflated. Ava pressed on. When other people insult me, it's because they have no class. When I insult other people, it's still because they have no class. I muttered under my breath. Simple insults, maximum enjoyment. Ava shot me a look. Life's a stage. There's no point in getting angry with dogs. From the sounds of it, I was one of the dogs she was referring to. Blake glared at me, then changed his strategy. He turned to Mr. Thompson, his expression pained. Uncle Richard, I haven't seen Ava in years. I can't believe she's become like this. Does she remember the nights we used to watch the stars together? What was this bombshell? I heard Ava snort. Everyone's blind when they're young. It seemed this was some juicy gossip. I perked up my ears, ready to savor it. The soft flesh of my lower back was pinched again. Ava might pay me peanuts, but the benefits weren't much better. With one exception, when she went on a rampage, she really threw her money around. Her role was to draw enemy fire, and my job was to be the attack dog she unleashed. Countless battles had proven that our unhinged, shameless duo was an unstoppable force. I took a deep breath, ready to unleash my inner demon. But before I could, Blake suddenly bowed deeply to Mr. Thompson. Uncle Richard, about that anonymous tip 5 years ago. My father was wrong. We are prepared to compensate you for all your losses. I hope our 2 families can put the past behind us. Mr. Thompson, ever the statesman, waved a dismissive hand. Who knew my wife was such a financial wizard? Over the years, she managed to build me quite a fortune through legitimate means. After a 5-year investigation, the authorities cleared my name and entrusted me with a great responsibility. I suppose I have your father's little tip to thank for all of this. Blake forced a smile that looked like he'd just eaten something foul. Uncle Richard, the design work for Lakeside Point has already been given to Ava's firm. Could the construction contract be awarded to our company? I've been holding my breath, and now I had to let it out. Our firm won the design bid fair and square. On what grounds does the Harrison Group deserve the contract? Your portfolio of abandoned high-rises or your shoddy, corner-cutting projects? Mr. Thompson gave me an appreciative look and smiled mysteriously. Construction and design go hand in hand. My company must also respect the opinion of the design firm. We can discuss this matter later. The gala was buffet style. I snuck over to the seafood station and started demolishing a plate of king crab legs. Alex, the construction project for Lakeside Point is really important to us. Can you help me? Sarah had appeared behind me at some point, her voice a low plea. I wiped the butter from my mouth, feeling helpless. Sarah, I really can't help with this. I've already quit. She looked at me in disbelief. That's impossible. Ava would never bring someone who wasn't involved to a high-profile event like this. I shrugged helplessly. Who could ever understand the mind of an unhinged woman? Sarah bit her lip, then asked tentatively, back then, when I asked you to pretend to be crazy and chase after me to get Blake's attention. Do you resent me for it? I thought for a moment. Resentment? Not really. Just a bit of regret. The gala ended. It was my job to drive the boss home. No questions asked. It's just the assistant's code. I hesitated for a long time, steeling myself to apologize. But Ava spoke first. So, Sarah's getting married, and you two were still getting all cozy? Were you planning on crashing the wedding? I never knew you had a thing for that. Doesn't eating trash get old after a while? Yep, an unhinged woman is always an unhinged woman. No need for an apology. Mutual destruction seemed like a better path. I silently pressed harder on the accelerator. The trip back to her apartment was a blur of screeching tires and flashing lights. I made it in 20 minutes, executing 2 drift turns, cursing out other drivers 3 times, and slamming on the brakes 5 times. I felt great. Ava, not so much. She crouched on the sidewalk, throwing up for what felt like an eternity. When she finally stood up, she hissed through clenched teeth, I don't accept your apology. Unless you stop writing that smut. I raised 3 fingers in a solemn vow. I swear on all that is holy, I am done with writing porn. And you have to help me with one more thing tonight. Otherwise, I'll do something we'll both regret. I swore another oath. It didn't matter what she asked. I just agree and do my own thing later. The car started again, moving much more smoothly this time to prevent any drastic measures on her part. After a series of twists and turns, we arrived at a magnificent mansion. The living room was a dazzling display of gold and light, filled with priceless antiques and paintings. This, combined with its prime real estate location. Damn, I swallowed hard, fighting back the bitter taste of envy. You brat, didn't you swear you'd never come back? A lazy voice called out. A stunning middle-aged woman appeared at the top of the stairs. The moment she saw me, her smile turned warm and inviting. Oh, you brought a boyfriend home. No wonder you came in like you were storming the castle. So dramatic. Her voice was familiar. It must have been the marriage pusher from the phone call. I suddenly felt like I had walked into a trap. Soon, Mr. Thompson returned as well. I quickly greeted him, hoping he would clear up the misunderstanding. He placed a hand on my shoulder. No need to be so formal at home. Just call me Richard. He turned to his wife with a smile. Alex is a good kid. He really steps up when it counts. Ava scoffed. If I hadn't pinched him, he'd still be playing the coward over there. Her mother looked taken aback, chiding her gently. Ava, what a thing to say. Mr. Thompson sighed, blaming himself. Blake's father and I were old friends. Our families were very close. I thought the two of them, being childhood friends, would make a good match. Beside him, Ava instantly bristled. Don't compare me to a piece of trash. I am who I am, a completely different kind of firework. She stomped up the stairs, calling back, Richard, get a guest room ready. Alex is staying over tonight. He could drive me to work tomorrow. Why was I staying? Wasn't she afraid I'd overhear all this family drama? Mr. Thompson continued, 5 years ago, I was taken in for questioning by the ethics committee. Ava was terrified. She asked Blake to help her look into it, but he used the situation to threaten and manipulate her. She almost lost her innocence. Thankfully, a kind person showed up just in time, and she managed to escape. She changed after that. I listened with rapt attention, nodding along. This was excellent material for a novel. I started piecing together the scene in my head. It felt strangely familiar. Back when I was making my grand romantic gesture, Blake had swooped in and stolen Sarah away. For a while after that, they were always together. I had warned Sarah, chasing happiness is one thing, but don't let some guy play you and live to regret it. Sarah had just shown me her player's playbook again. I know what I'm doing. Who's playing who remains to be seen. I still wasn't convinced, so I followed them a few times. Finally, one starry night, I overheard Blake's seductive voice. "Come on, Sarah, just give in. I'll take care of your father's situation." I'd let out a cold laugh and thrown the rock in my hand, startling the two lovebirds in the gazebo. Then, mission accomplished, I had vanished into the night. The next day, I had scolded Sarah for being reckless and not protecting herself. She had burst into tears, calling me a meddler. From then on, we were practically strangers. Thinking back now, I realized I had completely misjudged Sarah. But that wasn't the important part. Before going to bed, I knocked on Ava's bedroom door. We were alone now. It was a good time to apologize. If she had one of her episodes in front of a crowd, I wouldn't be able to handle it. She was in her pajamas, sipping red wine, and gave me a sideways glance. "What is it?" I looked down. I wanted to say I'm sorry. She handed me a glass of wine. "For making me cry back in college." "What did that have to do with anything?" She continued. "You don't have to apologize. After all, if it weren't for you back then, I might have been ruined by that bastard Blake." I looked up in surprise. "How did you know it was me?" She looked at me as if I were an idiot. "You called campus security, didn't you?" Anyone with half a brain could have figured it out. It all clicked into place. Why Blake had targeted me and made my life hell in the days that followed. And why Ava, using her position as student council president, had sought me out to talk. I took the wine glass. Nothing more to say. It's all in the wine. I had made her cry, but I had also saved her. Hey, the scales were balanced. We were even. Damn, I was one hell of a guy. This fancy red wine was much smoother than whiskey. I had a couple more glasses without thinking. When I woke up again, the sun was bright, and I was once again face to face with Ava's beautiful face. She was sleeping soundly, a slight smile on her lips, as if she were having a very pleasant dream. I turned my head and let out a quiet breath. Now what? There was no explaining this away. But maybe it wasn't so bad. After 3 months of sleepless nights and endless overtime, the design work for the Lakeside Point Amusement Park was finally complete. Ava gave me a huge cash bonus and, in an act of unprecedented generosity, a 3-day vacation. The heavens had finally smiled upon me. The tyrant wasn't a cheapskate, after all. I could use the money to buy a new top-of-the-line computer. As for the 3 days off, well, I hadn't updated my online novel in a while. My dear readers were getting impatient. The front desk called. A young woman named Sarah Thompson was here to see me. I snatched the bonus envelope and rushed to the entrance. A lot had happened recently. The Harrison Group was under investigation for tax evasion, shoddy construction, and a host of other issues. The once arrogant Blake and his father were now in custody. Their once mighty corporate empire was on the verge of collapse. When I saw Sarah again, she still had that same faint smile, like a delicate white flower, swaying in the wind. I hurried toward her, but when I opened my mouth, I didn't know what to say. She broke the silence first. "Alex, I'm moving abroad. I came to say goodbye." I couldn't help but ask, "Blake's situation. It didn't affect you, did it?" She laughed. Her posture seemed straighter, her eyes filled with confidence. "One shark, no matter how fierce, can't bother the queen of the ocean. Without Blake, there are plenty of other fish in the sea." She held up her player's playbook, and I was speechless. Sarah glanced over my shoulder, then stepped forward and gave me a light hug. She whispered in my ear, "Alex, you're too sentimental. That's not a good quality. Ava may be harsh and cold, but she's fiercely loyal. She's a good match for you. Don't mess it up." While I was still processing her words, she planted a gentle kiss on my forehead. Then, she turned and walked away with a confident stride. I suddenly felt a prickling sensation on the back of my neck. And sure enough, the unhinged voice of my boss cut through the air. "Bonus rescinded. Vacation canceled. Get back to your desk and work. Immediately. Now."